Just wanted to talk, that's all.
How's it going, everybody? How's it going? I'm going to put my headphones on because we're going to be taking some voicemails today. And I want to hear what you guys have to say nice and clearly. But Yankees are not in good shape right now. They won yesterday, but they've lost 3 out of 4. They're 10 games above 500, but still in third place in the East. They trail the Red Sox by a half game for the top wildcard spot. And they do have 7 straight games coming up against pretty awful teams, the Nats and the White Sox. That might be enough to get their record to the point where, they can be in a decent playoff position going into September. But I think anybody who's been watching this team closely knows that this team has a lot of problems. There's this old adage in baseball, I think is true. Good pitching beats good hitting most of the time. It doesn't always work out that way, but most of the time, good pitching will stop good hitting, and especially stops home runs, or at least at the very limit, or at least limits it. Right? It limits the number of home runs. When the Yankees win, it's because they tend to hit multiple home runs. Like last night, they hit 4 home runs. And when you're facing good pitching, you're just not going to hit multiple home runs all that often. And we got a cat joining us for the show today. This is Duchess. Not only is it hard to hit home runs against good pitching, but it's also difficult to string hits together against high leverage, good relief arms. So if you get a good starting pitcher on the mound who shuts you down and keeps his team in the game, then you got to face the top relief corps, right? And so it just becomes a very difficult game. So that's why the Yankees are built to pummel these lousy pitchers, in the back end of the bullpen. Beat up on all those teams, and then take your chance in running into a big home run against, one of the top flight pitchers, or in the playoffs, for instance. And I think that formula has now been proven to be faulty, right? I mean, if you look at the results over the last, 20 years, really, since they've been doing this, really 2005, I would say, is about when they started to go for this philosophy, Murderer's Row plus Cano, right? It was, you had Giambi and Sheffield and A-Rod, and, the talk of the team was how many home runs can they hit? That's what it became all about, and Cashman became obsessed with this, It seems like what they've boiled their strategy down to is invest in good pitching, try and limit other teams hitting home runs, and try and hit as many home runs as you can yourself, right? I wish it was more nuanced than that, but that seems to be what the Yankee strategy is. I think they got pulled into the fallacy that a walk is as good as a hit because of the Moneyball stuff. On a spreadsheet, if you can get to first base, it really doesn't matter how you got there. But anyone who has pitched can tell you that if they walk somebody, they feel like it's their fault. But if the opposition is hitting you, line drives in the gap, shots down the line, couple balls in the seats, it has a different feel. Doubt starts to creep into your mind as a pitcher. Do they know what I'm throwing? Am I tipping? Do I have the stuff to get these guys out today? If you walk a guy, put him on first base, your mentality as a pitcher is, I can make a pitch here, and I can get a ground ball, maybe get a double play. But it's entirely different if they're hitting ropes in the gap. And that's why I've always felt like the difference between a walk and a hit is more than just, where you end up, right? It's the feeling that it gives the pitcher. But also, it can, force the opposition to make plays, to throw to bases, to, play solid defense. Something the Yankees have been forced to do and they haven't been able to do. But the Yankees find it difficult to put together rallies because they're not built to hit line drives. They're not built with contact in mind. They're built to draw walks and hit home runs. Perfectly acceptable strategy against weak teams and weak arms. But when you're facing the creme de la creme, it's not going to work out, right? And if you go back and even look at the one team that won in the last 20 years, the 2009 team, yes, they hit a lot of home runs, but they also got a lot of hits. Almost everybody on that team could make contact. You had Johnny Damon, prototypical leadoff man. You had Jeter, great number 2 hitter, bat control, speed, did all the little things, made productive outs. He was a pest. 3,400 hits. In the middle of the order, you had A-Rod and Matsui, guys who drove in runs, but they weren't home run or nothing hitters. They could drive in runs situationally. You look at Matsui and how intelligent he was as a hitter. Back in 2003, his first season in the major leagues, he drove in 106 runs, and I believe he only hit 16 home runs that year. That doesn't happen unless you're a good situational hitter. You also had Robinson Cano on that team, line drive machine. Yes, he had power, but he was a 300 hitter. You had Nick Swisher, who would take his walks and work the count and hit home runs. He was more aligned with what this team is right now. I feel like we have a team of Nick Swisher type of hitters, 240, 230 hitters who have a little bit of power and will work the count. But the point I'm trying to make is the Yankees teams that have focused on being power-centric over the last couple of decades have not been as good as the teams that were contact-oriented. And I get it. The game has changed. It's not as easy to hit for average anymore, which means you have to maximize other areas of your game. You have to hit home runs. But you also have to steal bases. Yankees have been doing that. But you also have to pitch and play defense. You have to catch the ball. You have to throw the right bases. You have to do all the fundamentally sound things that the Yankees just don't do. Cody Bellinger has shown us what a real baseball player should be. Complete player. Jose Caballero. Love him as a player from what we've seen so far. He's a complete player. Does all the little things well. He's a pest. Runs the bases well. I want to see more of him at shortstop. He's going to play shortstop tonight. He is in the lineup tonight, and Volpe is on the bench once again. Take a look at the lineup real quick as we prepare for a game against the Nationals. Grisham leading off, 2 home runs last night. Ben Rice behind the dish tonight. Judge, the DH once again, apparently thrown to the bases quite a bit, but Giancarlo on the bench. Cody Bellinger in right field tonight. Jazz Chisholm at second. He hit 2 home runs last night after the death of his best friend. We heard about that after the game. Jason Dominguez in left. Ryan McMahon at third. Jose Caballero at shortstop. And Cam Schlittler on the mound. I'm looking forward to seeing what Cam Schlittler did. He pitched so fantastic his last time out. 18 up, 18 down. A lot of times there can be a little bit of a letdown when a pitcher comes out after that, but the Nats are not a great team. So I expect him to pitch well tonight. At home, he's going to have the home crowd amped up. But Volpe, out of the lineup, sounds like he's going to be back in there tomorrow. He's getting a second day off in a row. Giancarlo Stanton out because he can't play the outfield a couple of days in a row because his legs are going to fall off.
Well, you ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dane.
But we need to get Judge back out there in right field pretty soon. All right, let's get to some voicemails here.
It's just a reaction.
It's called about player development.
Hey, Derek. First-time caller. I just wanted to talk about our player development issues in the Yankees. We have these first-round draft picks like Volpe, Wells. Dominguez was another highly touted prospect. And while it's Dominguez's first full season, I feel like he's not really showing what he was set up to be, and Volpe and Wells seem to be busts, while people like Ben Rice and Schlittler seem to have a good future as MLB players. I just see all these other teams, and they have these great young players, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are on this. Is this a player development issue, a scouting issue? It seems like we only end up buying these older players, and we don't really get any great young players coming up. Would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks.
Well, there's multiple reasons for that. One, the Yankees don't draft very high because they almost always sign free agents, and they're almost always a playoff contender, so they draft near the end of the first round most of the time. That's not a huge deal. I mean, you can get good players. They could have drafted Gunnar Henderson. They did draft Aaron Judge. You can get great players in the deeper rounds. They're just not as sure things. You have to take some gambles. Austin Wells, I think you're right. I think he's a bust. Anthony Volpe clearly looks like a bust. But, here's something to consider. Maybe don't call guys up who are hitting 262 career in the minor leagues. This is a guy who had 1,000 at-bats in the minor leagues, and he hit 262. Now, 881 OPS, sure. But that's what they're trying to develop, is a guy who hits for power and not a guy who makes contact. It always worries me when a minor league hitter, doesn't put up good numbers. Home runs come and go, but you got to be a consistent hitter to get to the big leagues, in my opinion. Here's another call.
Hey, Derek, Matt from Denver again. You hit the nail on the head on the last voicemail that I left when I was completely out of breath. I was literally in the middle of a workout. Sorry about that. Hey, I wanted to hear what you think about what my sort of ruminating assessment has been on the problems with the Yankees recently. It seems to be what I like to call arrogant ignorance. And what I mean by that is they're too stubborn and prideful in their arrogance to admit the bad decisions they've made, whether it's not sending Volpe down ever, even though he's historically, over the last couple of years now, not been nearly as good as they said he was going to be, and leading to a place of, therefore, ignorance, looking stupid. What do you think about that? Arrogant ignorance.
I think that's pretty close. I think you're the one who hit the nail on the head this time. They seem to think that they can't be wrong just because they're the Yankees, right? Just because they have so much money invested in all of these different people in the front office and in the organization, all these analytics nerds, employing MIT scientists to develop the torpedo bat. How'd that work out? It worked out for a weekend. I think you're onto something. They are a little bit arrogant and clearly a little bit ignorant about what's going on in the league. I would have loved to have seen what that audit revealed, if it was a real audit.
What's going on, Derek? Myself, like many other Yankees fans, are not buying the last-ditch effort, bailed out by 2 home runs from Chisholm and Trent Grisham each, finally breaking the losing streak of 8 games to the Boston Red Sox, who are also Deverless, mind you. I mean, the team has no spot. We could talk about this. We talk about this stuff every year. I'm not even going to get into the whole fire everybody, this, that. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. We have to just accept that. It's a very stubborn organization, and they're run by just money-hungry, greedy people. We just have to accept that. Nothing's changing. So I think the Yankees should just reset. I mean, now you're going to obviously try to win, but just next year, have some optimism because you're going to have Rice starting at first, hopefully, with with Goldschmidt gone, and then you're going to be able to start Dominguez every day. They just messed that guy's development up totally this year since Grisham is going to be gone. So just, Yankees fans need to just, in my opinion, just forget about this year. You get into a wild card spot and go from there, but we know it's not going anywhere. No Cole or anything, and just, hope next year things change because nothing's changing.
Appreciate the call. Next year is going to be interesting what they do because they've got Spencer Jones tearing up the minor leagues right now. And you got to either play him or trade him. I mean, he's clearly too good for the minor leagues at this point. He's hitting over 300. He's got 32 home runs. Dominguez, I think, has shown a lot of improvement this year. Defensively, he still is not good. He looks like a DH to me. But he's 22. It's too early to give up on him. I think he's shown some improvement from the right side. The power hasn't been there like I thought it would be. And you're talking about a guy who hit 4 home runs in his first 7 games in the major leagues as a 20-year-old. Now 22 years old, a couple years later, he's only got 9 home runs over the course of the first 5 months. He did hit 3 of them in 1 game. Other than that, he has not hit for a lot of power. But he also, I think, is one of those guys who is a good hitter. I think he's going to be a solid hitter because he'll take what the defense gives him. He'll take the ball the other way through the left side. I think Dominguez, I'm still optimistic that he's going to be a good player. The outfield stuff worries me, especially throwing to the wrong bases. I think his routes will get better with reps. I like his arm strength. Don't love the decisions out there. Trying to catch balls that needs to play on one hop. Trying to throw to get guys at third when the play is to make it, to throw to second to stop the runner from getting into scoring position, that type of thing. So, we'll see how it works out. Roberto.
Hey, Derek. This is Roberto calling from Houston, Texas. I've been a Yankee fan since 1975. Okay? And I've seen everything. Believe me. But this is, things are bad when Volpe goes in to play defense late in the game. Things are bad when Volpe is playing defense. That's what I got to say.
I think we've beat the Volpe thing to death. I hope he improves, but he's been miserable. I don't know how you can start next season counting on Volpe as your shortstop. And Lombard's clearly not ready. Despite being viewed as a top prospect, he's not having great numbers in the minor leagues. And, defensively he looks good from what I've seen, but offensively he's got a long way to go. We got a call here about the caliber of players. Let's see what this is.
Hey, Derek, calling in from Manhattan. This Yankees team has a lot of comparison to previous year Yankee teams. They try to fill in positions with people that do not play that position. And it's just the caliber of player that they try to position in. Like, right field last year was Juan Soto, one of the best hitters in all of baseball. But look around the diamond, and it's just lackluster defensive personnel.
I'm not sure I totally agree anymore. I mean, McMahon, I keep saying that. McMahon is a good defensive third baseman, just can't hit. Volpe's obviously not a great shortstop right now. He's been better recently. Jazz, he came up as a second baseman. They've moved him all over. I think if he had stayed at second baseman, he'd be better. But my thing with Jazz is he tries to do too much. He tries to make the impossible throw. He counts on his athleticism a little bit too much. I'd agree that Ben Rice, not a good first baseman, but Goldschmidt, when he's out there, not bad. Gold Glover. Judge, obviously a good right fielder, but not playing right field right now. And when you put Stanton out there, obviously he doesn't have range. In center field, doesn't get much better than Trent Grisham. And left field, obviously, Dominguez in there for his bat. You deal with the growing pains. Bellinger, when he's out there, is phenomenal as a defender. Bellinger in right field tonight. Behind the dish, I'm not as impressed by Austin Wells as other people are, and I don't think Ben Rice is very good at catching either. He's shown me some things, but, been more bad than good, in my opinion. So, I don't know so much you got guys playing out of position as they're just not that great defenders. But we do have some decent defenders on the team. It's a two-pronged
Hey, Derek,
problem.
Pete from New Jersey. Just want to say that in my opinion, it looks to me from the outside that the Yankees have a two-fold problem. It's a two-pronged problem. And the prongs mix like ammonia and bleach. So the first problem is there's too much familiarity. There's no separation of church and state with that team. Like you pointed out, Hal's too busy being friends with Cashman, and God's sakes, they gave his kid a show on Yes, for crying out loud. And then, the thing with Boone, everybody's buddy, nicknames and all this thing. So there's no separation there to make hard decisions when they have to be made. And the second problem is this team, the organization seems like it will not admit when they've made a mistake and they're wrong about something. So that's why I think Boone still has a job. That's why I think they're still tripling down on this home runs and launch angle crap that most teams have started abandoning now when baseball became unwatchable for a while.
Yeah, I think that you're right on it about them refusing to admit when they're wrong about things. And we saw that drag out far too long with Josh Donaldson, which was a dumb trade in the first place. Aaron Hicks they stuck with for a long time. But, they had him on a long-term contract. Clint Frazier, Tyler Wade, they hang with guys way too long. We got a couple of more voicemails, but first I got to get a quick word in from DraftKings. The dog days of summer mean it's time for the boys of summer to kick it into gear. And the best way to cash in on your baseball IQ is with DraftKings Sportsbook. Never bet on baseball before? It's simple. Pick a guy to go yard, hammer some live odds mid-game, or just ride with your squad and hope for the best. No spreadsheets, just vibes and dingers. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
All right. We got two more calls to get to.
Yo, what's going on, Derek? Finally got a win last night. That felt good. But had to ask this question. Wanted to hear what you thought. Do you think that the Yankees have made a mistake, really, by rushing Judge back from this most recent injury? That's pretty much the question, and the thought process being that he's obviously, if not the best player in the MLB, top 3, pretty much easy. The guy's so dynamic that when he's pretty close to 100%, that there's nobody that can compete with him on this planet. Having said that, when we're rushing him back here, he's been pretty much a black hole in this lineup, going 0 for almost nightly. A lot of not competitive at-bats, striking out, expanding the zone, doing all these things because I don't know if he's just trying to put the team on his back or what, but it just doesn't look good, man. It's been looking awful, and you kind of had a snapshot of it last night looking through the first couple months of the season, really, where he was hitting 400 or whatever, to see that average now just steadily dropping night after night, almost down to 300, but where he's got to be hitting closer to 200 then over the last few months. It's just been...
Yeah, he's hitting about 200 since the All-Star break. He's clearly hurt. Was it a mistake to rush him back? I don't know. I think it's one of those things where we got to wait a little bit longer. I think that he's not comfortable DHing, right? He's a guy who likes to play the field. DHing is not easy. We saw that Giancarlo hated it at first. He's gotten better at it, but, I think that might be part of it. And also he's playing hurt, so clearly favoring that arm, not really letting it rip.
I'd like to thank you for what you say about the umpires, this awful calling of balls and strikes. And next year when they put this challenge thing into effect, I think they ought to take the 10% or 20% of the umpires who are overturned the most and just don't let them call balls and strikes anymore. That'll make it easier. Okay, thanks. Hey, I love your show. Bye.
I appreciate it. Love your call. That's not a bad idea. Taking the umpires that are worse, like there was some organizations, I forget who it was, maybe it was like Rockefeller or something, or maybe it was Henry Ford, who would basically fire the bottom 10% of workers every year. Now, I'm not in favor of that, but if someone is clearly not good at calling balls and strikes, but they can, be a field umpire, why not do that? Why not just have the best home plate umpires be the home plate umpires and the best field umpires be the field umpires? I think that's a good strategy rather than rotating, right? Get guys used to doing the same thing every day. I like it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you after the game tonight. We got Cam Schlittler on the mound. Let's hope the Yankees can turn it around. Thanks for your calls. Check out DraftKings. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this content, please hit that like button and subscribe. Check out NYYDesigns.shop for some great merch. Support our sponsors. It helps keep the show going. And you can find us on all major audio platforms, so be sure to subscribe there too. But most importantly, come back again soon. We'll see you next time.